And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon to be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think somebody might actually find this of interest, why don't you go ahead and hit the share button below and share it with them? So, congratulations, all of the Olim, all of the new immigrants to Israel who've come over the course of the summer. In fact, I'm told that 1,000 new immigrants just from North America alone are touching down in the Holy Land in the month of August. That's incredible. I also heard that over 7,000 people from North America have actually made Aliyah, have come to Israel since October the 7th. So that's pretty cool. It's counterintuitive, maybe, or maybe it's intuitive. I guess it depends how you sort of look at immigration trends. I'd like to speak about a few things that newly minted Israelis need to know about. Okay. Big question number one I get all the time: should my money come to Israel with me? Loaded question. It's a complicated answer, but what I will say is, if you're planning on purchasing a place to live, an apartment, a house in Israel, first thing is I'd probably not purchase something right away. I'd probably move into a community, see if you like it or not while I'm renting, and then pull the plug and decide to buy something if I'm actually happy there. Keep in mind, if you're coming with families, you want your kids to get adjusted. You want your kids to like the schools they're in. It's complicated than as opposed to just, seeing an ad and going out and running and buying an apartment, right? I think it should be pretty thought out. So I wouldn't rush into it. There's nothing wrong with renting for a little bit of time in order to make sure that it's the community that you want to be in. Now, if you're going to buy something, you get to that stage that you want to buy something, yeah, you got to bring your money over to Israel or part of it. But if you've got money that's in America, which you want to invest or keep invested, then the question is, well, should I bring that to Israel? After all, I'm leaving here. Why not bring it here? It should be close by. So the answer to that is it's complicated, but here are a few tips. Number one, it is not so simple for an American citizen to invest in Israel, and that also includes dual citizens. It's very, very difficult. And if you don't know the lay of the land, if you don't know how to do it, you are looking at paying prohibitively high taxes, and I mean prohibitively high taxes to the U.S. tax authorities, to the IRS. I don't want to get into the minutia of what are PFICs, but basically, in a nutshell, you're going to have to, if you want to invest locally here in Israel as an American citizen, you're going to have to invest outside of real estate. Okay, you can do deposits in the bank. You can buy individual stocks and individual bonds, right? Mutual funds. Most accountants believe that most exchange traded funds, ETFs, to sal in the local vernacular, meet the criteria of a PFIC, of a PFIC, and as such, you're staring at very, very high taxation. So, especially as newly minted Israelis, you're probably not going to know your way around the local stock exchange all that well, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Israel's a great place to invest. I've spoken about that many times. But if you don't know the lay of the land, if you don't know what you're doing, like I said, you're going to set yourself up for very high taxation. That's number one, okay? So chances are you're going to want to keep your money in the United States. Another mistake I see people make is they've got all their money a lot of money in retirement funds. Okay, number one, they say, oh, well, I'm going to use my retirement fund to purchase an apartment. Right? They're going to pull out $1 million from their IRA, from their 401k. And I'm like, do you realize that if you do that, that's not cheap money, right? That's treated as income. When you take money, when you're retired, and it's not a Roth IRA, okay, a traditional IRA, it's taxed as income. So if you take out a huge distribution, you are going to pay a huge amount of money in taxes, right? So that shouldn't be your plan. Okay. The other thing that I see is people say, oh, well, I'll just, I can bring my IRA money to Israel or whatever. Don't do that. Okay. Because again, if you take the money out of the IRA, you are looking at prohibitively high taxation because it's considered income. So that money in retirement plans, for sure, you're going to want to keep in the United States as well. Another issue that people have we'll call it the address issue, or that we no longer want your business issue. Many American well-known brokerage firms, and I will not name names, but it's a who's list of Wall Street, don't work with Americans who live abroad, right? Most of the cases, all the cases, it has nothing to do with anti-Semitism, so don't worry about that. It's how they interpret. Either they don't want to deal with Americans who live abroad because it's an extra layer of compliance, or it's how they interpret Israeli securities law and licensing for their advisors and what have you. I don't want to get into it necessarily. It's just a fact, right? So there may be, if you move to Israel, you may then receive a, move your account letter. So you're going to want to work with firms that deal with, both jurisdictions, but they're the cross-border issues, as some people like to call them, right? People who live in Israel or live abroad, live outside the United States, but keep their money in Israel. Not all firms are set up to keep these and work with these types of accounts. So you're going to want to find somebody. Just kidding. There are other people who do it also. I'm just giving tips. If you want to contact me, go ahead, but you're under no obligation to open an account with me. But you should be prepared when coming here that all of a sudden you might not even have access to your account when you log in from Israel, right? They're going to notice the IP address and they might lock you out of your account even. So just be warned, right? Don't think that some kind of scam or what have you, right? This is something that happens a lot. It's very, very commonplace. So ultimately, you might want to work with a firm who allows you to have a U.S. account but gives you local Israeli service. And, myself included, there are other firms who do the same thing. Make sure, though, that the people you're working with are licensed in both jurisdictions. Because what I can tell you is there are a lot of people running around out there who will say they call themselves advisors. In fact, somebody just told me, a client said, oh, my daughter went to a speech that some company brought in, and there were advisors there, and they were talking. I wrote back there, so they're not advisors. They're not licensed anywhere, right? They're not licensed, right? So it's very, very misleading. There are a ton of people in this country running around pretending to be advisors, right? Which advisor means that you have a license, either from the Israeli Securities Authority, from the U.S. regulatory authorities, or both, right? You should work with someone who has both. And then if you do that little filter, you're going to see there are a lot less amount of people who actually do that. But it's in your best interest to work with licensed individuals because you have recourse as opposed to somebody who just calls themselves something when you're going to be up the creek. And we've seen it over and over and over again. There have been so many frauds and so many scams by people who are out there, guaranteeing investments, guaranteeing deposits. We were investing in the country of Georgian banks. Right? We knew that wasn't going to end well. Well, it didn't end well, and people lost a lot of money. Okay? Just like there are a lot of people out there calling themselves advisors who are not advisors. So just be warned, okay? Work with professionals who are licensed. Okay? So those are just a few tips and information points that you need to know. Chances are, outside of buying an apartment, you're going to need money here, right, to live on, obviously, so you're going to bring some money over to get started. But if you've got investments already in the States, if you've got retirement accounts, or if you've got brokerage accounts where also, in order to bring them over, there's a good chance you're going to have to realize a lot of capital gains, probably not a great idea. And once you bring your money here, you're so limited in what you can actually do. It probably pays not to have your money make aliyah with you. And I'm not saying that, good or bad. It's just a fact, right? It's sort of stacked against you, right? If you're making money here and you're saving into retirement plans, whatever, that's great. Keep the more the merrier, right? But to bring over retirement plans, to bring over, investments which have large capital gains, not worth it. Okay, you're going to lose so much money in the transfer, and then you're going to be stuck because you're not going to have a full array of investment options, at your behest, to implement. you're going to sort of be stuck. Okay. So again, you can always do real estate. You can always do bank deposits. Once you get past that, it gets awfully tricky. Okay. You've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show. We speak to your money, your life, your money, and your investments. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think somebody, maybe just somebody who made Aliyah that you know, might find this of interest, why don't you go ahead and share it with them as well? Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.